Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a truly special online event today. It's called Find Freedom with Intuitive Painting, how creative expression can help you navigate life's changes and feel more vibrant and alive. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm delighted to be with you here, going on an exploration of our creativity and how we can liberate more of our full selves, particularly through painting. And I think it's a perfect moment for this. My children are actually engaged in their own painting explorations, and it's been fun to kind of have it come alive in a new way through their eyes, and also to realize that there are depths upon depths of how painting can be a practice of real transformation and liberation. We're going to be exploring this today with a really exciting and liberating teacher. Her name is Flora Bowley. She's an artist, an author, a retreat facilitator, and creative catalyst. And if you get sparked by today, we're going to have a brand new course with Flora called The Art of Aliveness, an intuitive painting journey that we'll share more about towards the end of the hour. So with that said, Flora, welcome so much to today's program.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for having me. I feel really honored to be a part of the Shift Network family. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah.
Well, I always like to start our time with new faculty to really get a bit of your backstory and what propelled you on this pathway into intuitive painting as a real transformational journey.
Yeah, it sounds like much like your kiddos. I was a very creative kid, always happy to just spend hours with markers and pencils and papers and whatever was at hand. And so it was a really natural progression for me as I went to college to choose to go to art school. It was just always the thing that I loved the most and that I excelled at. And so it was in art school that I really fell in love with painting specifically as a medium. And so I learned all of the art school things, the techniques and the all of the I think intellectual side of art making. I really got like a foundation there. But when I graduated from college, it became clear to me pretty quickly that I was more interested in painting from the heart and painting in a way that wasn't about executing a plan that came from my mind. I found the process of, starting without a plan, letting things unfold, just seeing where it would go to be much more enlivening to me. So I really kind of created my own process over the course of many years. And at the same time, I was also becoming a yoga teacher, becoming a massage therapist, reading like every self-help book I could get my hands on. And so eventually, about 15, 16 years ago, I was invited to share my process with other people. I'd never done that before, my art process. And so it was a really cool experience because getting in the room with other people and sharing this painting process that I had become so intimate with allowed for kind of all the parts of me to like braid together in the room. We started with movement, and I very quickly realized like, oh, there is a lot more than just painting going on here. This is really a practice in presence and in embodiment and becoming more free, more expressed. One thing that I love about this process is it really helps us to learn how to become more flexible and more adaptable, which is obviously such a skill that is needed these days. And so it was such an amazing process for me to watch folks come into the room, often saying things like, I'm not an artist, or, I have this story about creativity. And then over the course of the workshop, just like seeing them soften and open and become more free. And then like the light bulbs going on around like, oh, maybe I can create this. And and really what happens by the end is that, yes, we're making paintings, but we're also realizing that we have this agency and that we have, if we can make a painting that started as a blank piece of paper and turned into this whole world, we're also learning like quietly in the background that we can create our life, that we can
Mhm.
move from a more intuitive place, a more brave place, a place where we're really connected to the present moment and not knowing what the end of the story already is before we start. And
Mhm.
so over the years, I've just become like more and more fascinated with the connections that exist between the creative process and what I call the art of aliveness. So yeah, it's really become my passion in life to share this with other people. It's such a gift. I love painting myself still, just alone in my studio. But I think what makes me the most alive is watching other people discover their innate creative capacity, because I really believe we all have it. It's not just for the chosen few. It's something that we all are born with. So that's what it's all
I love
about.
your backstory. It's wonderfully liberating from sort of making art as a product to liberating humans as a process. It's it's
Yes.
really
Well
really
said.
quite beautiful, and I think it is very much our birthright to be self-expressed
Yeah.
and to really do so. So, I want to take us to that moment where you said so many people when they come into a workshop, they've got their stories. They immediately want to announce that they're not an artist, so they're trying to assuage your concern that their product is not going to be good or something. So maybe talk about like how to become aware of whatever it is that might be inhibitory of that full expression in a way that's, just opens to it without adding to layers of judgment, starting to release
Mhm.
some of the agendas and some of the, the limiting stories we have.
Well, I think like a lot of things, it's the starting part that's the hardest. It's like I don't even put a whole lot of emphasis on let's talk about our stories that are holding us back and all that. I'm more like let's close our eyes and dip our hands into some paint and put on a song and start moving some colors around, because it's through the action of creativity, which is something I love about the creative process. It's so tangible, like it's like truly in our hands, and an object that comes alive before our very eyes, that people kind of go, oh, I I made that. Actually, I do have that in me, and it's such an empowering experience when you do make something with your own hands, and eventually kind of love what you made. And along the way, there's ample opportunities for us to meet with our inner critic and to have those moments also bubble up. But then that's a big part of my work with folks is learning to be friendly with ourselves, to be kind with the process, and to know that we're not done until we're done. And so there's this whole middle, which is really what a lot of life is the middle, the transition of what was to what is coming. And so it's really, this process allows people to get more comfortable being in the unknown, and maybe being in things that are, I don't know where this is going, but then when it actually does go somewhere, and you get to that point, you go, oh, okay, like it was okay that I didn't know, and we still made it here. And then it's just we're flexing those muscles of how to be more present, more open, more flexible, more brave.
I'm hearing in what you're sharing that Lux also just that, your own journey of embodiment. This is an embodied, like starting from the organic touch, sensation,
Yeah.
movement of the body is better than trying to kind of rewire your stories from a kind of mental level.
I think so. I think so. And I think there's this idea about art making that it all comes from like your head to your hand, and that's the that's the art making pipeline. And for me, it's like I really try to um, drop into the body first, and all my work with embodiment practices has given me a good foundation to guide people into that, because I really believe that when we're actually coming from less of a thinking place and more of a feeling place, and more of a just becoming open to what wants to flow through us, that's actually when the really interesting things happen. I often tell people to, at the end of the session, like look at their palette where their paints were, where they weren't trying to make a painting. They were just scooping their paints up. And oftentimes the palette is so beautiful. It's so beautiful in its freedom. And then you look at your painting and you're like, oh, I was really trying really hard to make something. And so the process also teaches us so much about efforting versus
Uh-huh.
softening. which I know for myself is like a huge life lesson. It's like, okay, how can I just let this flow, let this be, and let this be as a result more authentic and more true to myself and less in that like pushing energy. So this
Mhm.
this is a big theme that we get to work with as
Yeah, so
well.
it's like the trying creates a tightness and a constriction versus like really allowing the flow of life to move through you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the other things you do to kind of help to open to that flow state versus the kind of try agenda focus on an outcome?
Well, I do a lot of interrupting, I think, of patterns. And so things like closing our eyes. It's when we're making visual art, we think, oh, we're looking at what we're making. But I think one of the quickest formulas to get us into like a feeling, intuitive, authentic space is the combination of closing our eyes, working with music as a collaborative partner, and then really kind of dropping into our bodies, like I said, and letting and it's this idea of just, what if we didn't care for a minute what it actually looked like? What if we weren't trying to achieve something? What if we were just enjoying the moment and like becoming more free in ourselves? And then what happens when we open our eyes is people are like, wow, that is that's really beautiful what happened. That's really raw and expressive and like, wow, I made that. And so yeah, we sometimes will work with our non-dominant hand, and I have all kinds of prompts and ways in. I think of them as just how can we get into the channel of freedom and feeling. And so
Mhm.
yeah, all kinds of things.
You mentioned that this is like, really an important skill for right now, and particularly like the pace of change just keeps accelerating, and so the ability to be fluid with change is more and more essential. Maybe share some of what you've seen as people start to free up with creating art in this way. Like, how does that shift the rest of their life?
Yeah, I mean, one of the little phrases that I use in my teaching is that you only need to know the one next step, because in a painting process, if you, for example, add a bunch of blue, now you have a different painting, and we're always in a conversation with our paintings around, okay, what wants to come next, what feels alive here, and so every time we add a color, a mark, an image, we're working with a different painting. And so we really get this lived experience around how to stay present without really knowing where we're going, which is exactly, I would say, the state of the world these days is like, how can we stay present and true to ourselves when we don't really know what's coming our way? So this painting process gives us, yeah, just a really tangible way to practice, being in the unknown and responding like moment to moment, to, yeah, all the changes. It's amazing how quickly a painting can change, and that is actually where the freedom lives. Is when we go, oh, if I try on a bunch of marks and I do all these things and then I step back and I'm not loving that, it's okay. I get to just choose the one next thing. What am I going to do now? And then you kind of go, oh, in my life, I could actually change directions. I could, if the thing I was going for isn't working out, now I'm practicing being able to, pivot or adapt to what wants to happen and what feels most aligned and most alive.
Mhm. So there's definitely a letting go of an attachment to a sort of an image of what or the outcome is supposed to be, it sounds like, and that really does allow for more open-ended creativity.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you find are sort of the things that you need to let go of as part of the more intuitive process?
Yeah, I mean, the very first thing I always say is just, if you're sitting there with an image in your head, like you have this idea of what the painting's going to look like, that you're already getting in your own way, because then if it doesn't look exactly like that, then you're kind of like, there's like a tension between what you want it to be and what it actually is. And so we do a lot, yeah, we do a lot of letting go and softening of that. And then I work with what I call like working with what's working as well, because in art school, my experience anyway was often focused around like critiques and coming in and going, okay, what's not working here? And there might be a time in a creative process where I think that's valuable, but I think for the bulk of the process, when we come in looking for what's not working, just as if we come into our life looking for what's not working, that's all we're going to find. And so
Mhm.
I love this idea of like, there's always at least one little thing that you can find that you like in the
Mhm.
painting. It might just be, a little moment of color over here or this particular shape you put in there. And so it's like, hey, look for those things and then allow those things to be openings into what comes next. And I think, yeah, I think that's a big takeaway for people as well in life is like, oh, that's such a different lens to look through, rather than that critical lens that is so easy to go to.
I was there was talking to somebody who did improv, and they said that the most fundamental principle is yes and. It's
Yes,
like
and
you never reject the lead. You always have to say yes and. You sort of keep
yeah,
building on what's coming. It sounds like that's painting can be an
totally.
embodied
Yeah.
expression of that.
Yeah, I think I've done a little improv as well, and it's like this is the painting version of improv is what my process is just staying with that like my knees are bent, I'm not sure what's coming, but I'm going to what my work is to stay present and to stay true to what I actually want because there's it's so easy to get in the land of shoulds and what is this supposed to look like and if I did red, then what color is supposed to go next to the red? I just don't really subscribe to any of that. And I'm much more interested in, well, what is calling you? What color is next for you? And how can we just like stay in that place of this is my experience and my preferences matter and my choices are the right choices for me and all of that, as you can imagine, just translates so beautifully into living a more empowered life. So again,
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you find there is still a role for having a clear vision of a direction you want to go in, or it's really just like letting go of that is better in terms of this the process?
well, I think there's, yeah, sometimes people will be like, well, what if I want to paint a tree? Is it okay? And I'm like, absolutely. So the key, and actually, finding inspiration and building up an archive of like visual language and color combinations and all of that is super important. I always think of that as like the inhale of the creative process is really developing, our preferences and getting inspired from the world. Um, but then there's this thing about okay, have your basket full, right? Have all these ideas ready, and then don't get attached to any of them having to be in the painting or be what the painting is all about. So for example, if you wanted to paint that tree, maybe you went outside and you did a sketch and you're like, I'm really loving this tree and I want to bring that in. I would say try it on, put it in the painting. And because we're working with acrylics, which dry really quickly, and I always have people working on more than one painting. So you would put the tree in over here on this painting, and then let it dry. And then when you come back, you paint on this other painting for a minute, and then you come back and you go, okay, do I like it? Is it feeling alive? Do I want to work with it? Or maybe it's I like it, but I actually like it more upside down as a pattern inside a woman's skirt or something. So there's this real like, yeah, try it, see what happens, but be open to change. One of the phrases I love to remind people about is like make bold commitments, like commit, like go for it, put the tree there. Don't just dabble, right? Like make a bold commitment while you're staying open to change. And those two things can sometimes feel kind of contradictory, but I actually think it's like where the magic of the creative process lives. It's like, yeah, go all in, but then be kind of soft and kind of open and go, I'm gonna take that, but I'm gonna cover over half of it, or I'm gonna let it turn into something else, or maybe I don't like it at all. And great, you can just choose a color that's going to be a good color to cover it and let it go entirely. And so there's so much like freedom that lives inside the process. And it's always a fun thing for me when I start to see people really understanding that. And they're like, oh, So nothing's permanent. I just get to, tap into a flow place and then allow it to keep changing. And that just like opens up so much for people. It's really
That's
fun.
definitely a great metaphor for life. The bold commitment and openness to pivot to something new and whatever.
Exactly.
I want to go back to you mentioned that you typically always have people work on more than one canvas or painting at a
Mhm.
time. And what's the rationale behind that, and why does that help kind of break out of certain kind of ruts?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One is kind of what I said around just the logistics of paint needs time to dry. And when we're working in a layering process, which is what my process really embraces, is building layers, is so you have to have that, those minutes when you're working on the other one to let this one dry. So just pure logistically, that's part of why we do it. But I think the other piece that's so important is that, oftentimes when we're so close to something, we can't see it anymore. This is life also. It's like you have to just step away and you get so much valuable perspective from taking a minute to just like not be staring at the thing you were doing or not be doing the thing you were doing. And then what tends to happen is that when you come back to it, you have more freshness in your eyes. And usually at that point I'll often say, okay, let's now turn the paper or the canvas in 4 directions and see if one of those directions actually feels more interesting than the one you were working on. And so it's this way of like really keeping a freshness and also taking that pressure off of, okay, I'm starting this painting and I just have to like go all the way through to the end and like hope it works out. I mean, that's a great formula for getting stuck and having it not be very fun.
People start loose and then they get more and more focused, and let's
Oh,
switch it around.
totally, totally. And so, yeah, and when I see people doing that, like getting like really like, they're kind of, they're sort of sucking the life out of the painting by doing that. That's when I'm like, this would be a really good time to set that one aside, and bring in another one. And trust me, you'll see it in a different way when we go back to it.
Nice. Well, I love your philosophy on these things, and it really you can see the why is such a good metaphor for life and a good practice for life. So I want to invite you to let's take a little time to journey together as a group and play with this a bit.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So we're not going to, paint here because I imagine not everyone has paints at the ready. But what I would love to share and guide you through is a practice where we'll just arrive into our bodies a little more fully. And then we're going to do what is called blind contour drawing. And for those who might not know that term, it's really simple and it's really fun and really playful. And what it means is that you're going to take I have a marker, you could use a pen, pencil, whatever you have. And you're going to choose something in the room. It could be, yeah, anything you feel drawn to. And we're going to kind of connect to our room in the somatic practice. And then we're only going to look at what we are drawing and not at our paper. So I'm going to do a really fast example just to give you a quick example. So I'm looking at a plant over here. I'm going to put my pen marker on the page. I'm not going to look at my paper at all. And I'm going to do one continuous line. So this is a continuous line blind contour. And this is what happened. So
Lovely.
it's free, it's funky. It's not perfect by any means, and that's the point. All of that is the point. And so we're going to have a chance to do that together. And then I have a little writing prompt that we'll do at the end. So if that sounds good.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So we're going to start by just kind of arriving. And if you're fiddling with things, just kind of set everything down and take a slow breath in and then fully let it go. You can have your eyes open or closed for this part. Slow breath in, filling up, and then just a complete release, letting go. And just know there's nowhere Know where you need to be other than right here for the next couple minutes. Allow your body to settle in, feeling the support of your chair, feeling the weight of your feet. And just noticing your breath moving in and out without needing anything to change. And if your eyes were closed, I'm going to invite you to slowly open them. And then imagine you're seeing this room you're in for the first time. And imagine that you're seeing this room through the eyes of an artist. Noticing where the light lands. And taking a look around. Noticing where the shadows are being cast. Notice if there's any colors that are drawing your eye to them. Are there any textures or patterns? Maybe a curve. Something worn. Something smooth. And as you're taking in this room, I also want you to notice the space between things, the empty spaces, the quiet spaces, the edges of things, and the relationships between things. And you don't need to name what you're seeing or even decide if it's pleasing to you. Just simply notice. And taking another slow breath. Now we're going to allow our eyes to either soften or close if that feels comfortable to you. And keeping with the same spirit of curiosity, I'd like you to begin to turn your attention inward. We're noticing the interior landscape of you. And without trying to fix anything, simply ask, what is here? Noticing your breath, any sensations in your body. Noticing if there are any emotions present. And just as you observed your room without judgment, see if you can observe yourself with that same gentle curiosity. And if it feels comfortable, bring one or both hands to your heart. And we're just going to slowly allow our head to bow towards our heart. And this simple gesture of remembering, a way of saying, I'm listening. And just take a few breaths here. I'm just imagining your mind softening its grip for a moment, making a little more space for the quiet wisdom of your intuition to be heard. Not needing to know any answers, not needing to know what you're about to create. We're just arriving in relationship with ourselves. And take one last breath before you slowly open your eyes if they were closed. And then we're going to find our way to our paper and pencil or pen or marker. And then perhaps there was something in the room that really drew your attention. Let your eyes wander back to that thing. And we're going to allow ourselves to draw it without looking at our paper at all. One continuous line, letting it flow, releasing the need for this to look good or right in any way. Just allowing ourselves to become fully present to whatever it is we're drawing in this moment. And usually these can happen pretty quickly. So I would love to see, Stephen, are you willing to share what you did?
It doesn't look like what I'm looking at, but it's kind of fun and playful. I'll show you what I'm actually trying to draw.
Ooh,
I've got this giant sort of winged heart from Pátzcuaro. I'm in Mexico right now, and so it's this beautiful, beautiful thing on the wall. And
love
it's just
it.
kind of, yeah, just kind of. I think what I was noticing is that it's sort of like it tuned to me with different aspects of it, like just the way different. It's like I could almost like see each thing kind of from more from a form level.
Yeah,
Um, so it felt like I was seeing it more deeply, which was
totally.
interesting.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like drawing something, whether we're doing blind contour or we're actually, looking at our page. To me, that brings us more quickly into presence. It's like, okay, now I'm really with this thing. It's why artists have always carried sketchbooks because we're I think one of our jobs as creatives in the world is we're just being with the world. We're really allowing ourselves to be all the way there and to notice these subtleties and notice these shapes and colors and textures and relationships. Um, this is you.
Oh, they were doing me.
I
There
did
we
you.
go.
So you didn't know I was drawing you, but I was drawing you as you were drawing the hearts. So I hope that, yeah, I hope that was enjoyable and just a reminder that like we don't have to have some vast amount of skill set in order to create something that we actually just have to show up. We just have to show up. And so I want to just offer this little writing prompt, and we'll just spend about a minute with it. And then if people want to spend longer, you can always pause the video. But just to reflect on this little simple practice we just did, I want to offer the prompt of when I let go. So just starting with when I let go and see what wants to flow through without any need to edit or understand or make it perfect. When I let go. Okay. I'm curious if anything came through for you in that little prompt.
Yeah, I think, I said, when I let go, I am a fountain of new ideas, expressions, and possibilities. I enjoy simply creating. I enjoy letting each thing go.
Mm,
I think that I'm in this phase where there's a lot of responsibilities with kids and businesses and properties and blah 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 and all these things. And so sometimes I can kind of tighten up around those responsibilities. But truth is, I really love creating. That's why I tend to write more, whether it's articles or poetry or books. And but I'm also enjoying sort of opening to more of a multimedia kind of expression as well.
I love that. Yeah, I find with the creative processes, all the different vehicles of writing, movement, art making, voice, it's all they're just different vehicles to that we can work with the same principles. So I often hear from folks who have taken one of my retreats that they're like, "Oh, I'm actually a writer, and this really helped me with my writing process because it's all the
Mm.
same philosophies that are true around." Uh, yeah, like softening our grip and like
Mhm.
letting things flow and becoming more present and being open to change. And so I love how it can kind of just, find people wherever they're at.
Yeah, and I think particularly because writing can be a more intellectual endeavor in your head. So like having a more embodied, tactile kind of way of opening the creative channels is probably really great for people who are more used to creating through their written word.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Nice.
thanks for playing with
Nice.
me.
Well, what did you write?
I said, when I let go, I feel more present, more alive, and more in the flow. I'm able to be all of myself and to not worry so much about outcomes or others' opinions. When I let go, I am just right here.
Nice.
Yeah,
You practice what you preach then. When you let go, you practice what you preach.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. And there's,
That-
I always think letting go is can be this thing that feels scary for people. It's just like, oh, does that mean I have to step off the ledge and like into the unknown? And I love that the creative process gives us a chance to kind of like titrate between like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes and really, go wild with this song for the first layer, and then I'm gonna maybe come and open and bring in a little more of the control I'm craving, and then then I might let go by turning the canvas upside down. So it doesn't have to feel scary and like all the time letting go, but there can be this really nice way to practice moments of letting go, and in those moments of letting go we kind of see how that feels and how that looks, and
Mhm.
then the more we do something, like anything, it's the more comfortable we get with it.
Hmm.
So
I'm feeling myself drawn to the paintings behind you right now, which are sort of like have little currents of color that are coming off the painting. So maybe share a little bit about breaking out of boxes or whatever it is that is going on with those paintings.
Yeah, well, I'm in my studio, and in this space, I lead retreats sometimes, and so these spots behind me have been places where people have painted, and I'm always telling people. I built this studio, and I said from the very first retreat, I was like, you can make a mess. I mean, like if you could see my floor, it's just all paint, and there's tons of paint on the wall behind these, and to me it's important to feel a sense of freedom and not feel so confined, and so letting things go off, drip off the bottom, handprints on the wall. And I have some really easy ways for people to create little um, protected areas in their own house. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I have this apartment and I can't make a mess here, we'll talk about that in the course, and there's some really easy ways to contain
My
the mess.
daughter would love you. That's like make it, yeah, permission to make a mess. Yeah,
Yes.
now we're talking.
No, exactly. Yeah, kids know. They know exactly how they want to feel when they're making artwork.
Yeah, just fully self-expressed.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, yeah, anything else that you were wanting to sort of like make sure that people take away just from today, and then we'll have a chance to talk a little bit about how they can go further with you.
I think the biggest thing for me is just I feel the paradigm is shifting around this, but there was this paradigm for a long time that like only certain people are artists, or that making art is this luxury thing that we get to do when everything else is like dialed in. And I really want to offer another option in that creativity and creative expression is actually just a way, a beautiful healing path to connect to ourselves. And it doesn't really matter ultimately what it looks like. It's always what I say is it's time well spent. And I see that I don't just feel this myself, but I see this happen. It's like, you spend an hour playing with paints and you feel better at the end. And like we talked about earlier, you're just more in the driver's seat of your own life because you're in the place of creating versus the place of consuming. And I feel like these days, especially the consumption thing is so prevalent where we could just start behind our phones and we're taking in so much that to me, one of the biggest, most awesome parts of creative practices is that it reminds us that we are the creators and that we were born with this. And so it's for everyone. It's for absolutely everyone, even if all you ever do is a blind contour every morning. I feel like that would be such a beautiful way to start the day. And so, yeah, I really just
Love that.
want people to know it's for them.
Beautiful. I totally agree that our creativity is our divine inheritance as all for all beings. So
Absolutely.
beautiful. Let's talk about your course, because it's really clear how deep you've gone with this, how fun and empowering you are, and also really know the tricks to sort of like getting through whatever stuff comes to the surface in a way that liberates you. So let's talk about your course. It's called The Art of Aliveness, an Intuitive Painting Journey. Use creativity as a pathway to greater self-trust, authentic expression, and freedom. You can find it at the URL freedomwithintuitivepainting.com, freedomwithintuitivepainting.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites. And I'd love for you, Flora, just to share a little bit about some of your intentions for what people will come away with.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. One is that for anyone who's ever had a craving to paint, like you've just been like, that would be a cool thing to be able to do. I want to empower you with, I hope, just the right balance of technical know-how and like just learning about paint and how paint works, balanced with a lot of really fun and playful ways in to the process. And so you're going to learn how to paint, which is awesome. And how cool is that we get to learn how to paint at any age we are. But the other piece, which is what we've been talking a lot about here, is just I want it to be a place where you get to practice ways of being that you might be craving more in your life. So, for example, if you're someone that feels like they have to control things all the time, or you just have like so much stress and you're always in that like management place, I want you to have the opportunity of feeling what flow feels like and feeling what presence feels like and feeling what your authentic expression looks and feels like. And so there's just like infinite, I mean, I could talk all day about the infinite ways that this process of intuitive painting helps us to live. And so by the end, I hope that you learn how to paint and get started on a painting journey. That would be amazing. And also, I hope that you just become a little more intuitively connected, a little more brave, a little more open to change and kinder to yourself along the way.
All beautiful benefits. So thank you for those intentions. So let's go through the modules, give a little preview of what you're going to be doing. So module 1 is called Embrace Playful Creativity to Build Trust in Yourself.
Yeah, this is like setting the stage of really we'll definitely do like the eyes closed painting with our hands thing, which is just such a great way to start things off and to kind of go just with full freedom. So we're going to do a few different like playful creative exercises. We'll also be, creating some intentions for the course ahead and just arriving together as a group, getting really familiar with our supplies. And I'm obviously going to answer any questions you have. If you've never painted before, totally not a problem. But if you have painted before, a lot of folks come to me when they're just looking to become a little more free or they just need like a burst of some kind of new inspiration into the practice they already have. So yeah, the first week will just be kind of setting the stage and really playing and opening up to what's possible.
Module 2, develop color confidence through intuitive exploration.
Yeah, so color is a big part of painting. It's one of the main ingredients, I would say. And so I think there's a lot of overthinking that can happen with color, people feeling like they have to get it right or have all this color theory knowledge. And so I have some really playful exercises that are going to just show you how to work with color in a way that's intuitive, that's more free, that's going to create like color combinations that are not just coming right out of the tube. So we're gonna, yeah, the whole session is just going to be this like fun deep dive into intuitive color.
Module 3, create dynamic paintings through expressive mark making.
So mark making is another big ingredient. You know, if you look at a painting and you notice what's there, there's probably marks, and marks can happen in so many different ways. I'm a big fan of using non-traditional things to make marks with. So we're not just using paintbrushes, but things that you might have in your recycling or your fingers or whatever it is that feels like, oh, what would happen if I used this thing to make a mark. And so we're going to just play with that, and we're going to use music as a guide to create some rhythmic marks and yeah, just explore the whole world of mark making. It's vast and really fun.
Module 4, discover your unique creative voice through visual language.
Yeah, so this module speaks to, imagery, shapes, and symbols, and really kind of discovering what's there. I think what I see often is that, you stand in front of a painting and the next question is like, well, what am I supposed to paint? Well, now what? And so this module is about really like filling that basket that I spoke of before with ideas. So we'll be doing some drawing practices. We'll be, going into shapes and symbols and really remembering like, oh, there's a lot here that I'm going to have to draw from. And then I'll have so many options as to what I want to try on in the painting in any given moment.
Module 5 and 6, a special double session, reimagine what's possible for your life through the art of layering.
Yeah, I love that we're doing a double session because this is the point in the course where you're going to have like a full basket of tools. You're going to know about color, you're going to know about marks, you're going to know about imagery and symbols. And we will have already been layering up our papers at this point. So you're going to have a lot there. And in this double session, we're going to have uh, more time to work on our paintings and also more guidance from me around how to work with all your different layers. So if things are feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on here, I've got lots of ways to simplify, to yeah, create cohesion, to bring things together. And the art of layering is just like the biggest metaphor for life that I love to talk about too, because our lives really are kind of layers of experience. And, we get to choose what stays, what we let go of, how we look at it, what we want to bring in. And so, yeah, it's a pretty juicy double module that point.
And finally, module 7, create a personal art of aliveness deck to sustain your creative practice.
Yeah. So this, I don't want to give too much away, but I do want folks to know that there's going to be an opportunity to kind of bring a lot of things together at the end and to create, yeah, your own like deck with your own wisdom that was sourced through the process of the course. And it'll be a really sweet takeaway that you can have if you're ever feeling uninspired or you're wanting to remember like what was that course I took on the Shift Network. You can just draw one of your cards and get a little nugget, a little reminder, and be like, okay, right, or have it next to the place that you paint or whatever. So that'll be just a way to bring it all together.
That sounds super cool. What a great way to close, and then to have that to re-inspire you at any time in the future.
Yeah.
Well, it's clear, Flora, that it's going to be a really joyful and liberating journey and really come away with some real skills as well as freedom from some of the programs that we've inherited. So again, the whole program is laid out in detail at freedomwithintuitivepainting.com. I'll share a little bit more about it. So if you choose to move forward, you're going to get those 7 90-minute live sessions with Flora, which includes interactive practices. You can ask your questions live. You also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, which allows you to redo them in the future if you want to get re-inspired. Also get word for word transcripts, which are really helpful to go back and study and really get the practices down too. There's weekly practices for home. There's a community group to support you and share about your experience and deepen the practices, as well as small group time to connect with other participants. And Flora has also been very generous with bonuses for this program. There's a video that she's created called Spirit Doodling. You want to share more about Spirit Doodling?
Yes, spirit doodling is just a personal practice that I've really enjoyed over the years. It's another drawing practice. This one is not about drawing something that you see, but rather allowing your pen to move. I always think of it as like it's coming from the inside out. And so it's really simple, and it's just a way to it's kind of a meditation, like an action meditation, but a way to connect with yourself. And oftentimes I get like little messages through this process. So, yeah, happy to share that with people.
So, really cool bonus with Spirit Doodling. Then there's a second bonus called 30 Days of Creative Play. This is a PDF that Flora's created. Do you want to share more about that?
Yeah, I created this because I often hear people say things like, I want to be more creative, but I have no idea how to or what that means or looks like. And so I just created like 30 of my favorite um, prompts to get you engaged in creative practices in a bunch of different ways. So it's the kind of thing you could just like stick on your fridge and like do one each day or over the course of a couple months. And I think it's going to infuse creativity into your daily life.
Beautiful. And then there's one final special bonus, which I think is going to be very cool. And that's for everybody who signs up by midnight tonight, Pacific time. So this gives you an extra little incentive to go for making a decision today. So really take the time to tune in, read the page at Freedom with Intuitive Painting, tune in with what you've experienced with Flora. And if you choose to move forward today, you're going to get a video series. It's called A Creative Release, Moving Emotions Through Paint. Want to share more about that?
Yeah, this is from an online course I created called the Painting Sessions. And so you're actually going to get to see me paint a large canvas, like the size, from start to finish through the series of videos. And the specific intention behind this one is how to move emotion through the process of intuitive painting. And I do a pretty in-depth voiceover. There's like 3 camera angles showing you what's happening with the painting, and then I do a voiceover where I'm really describing what's going on, and some of that is like technical painting stuff, and also how I'm connecting to the emotions and moving them through. So you'll see it'll go from a blank canvas all the way to a finished painting at the end. So that's if you want to get kind of more of a flavor of how I'm teaching and really see like the whole start to finish thing, you'll want to check that one out.
Sounds super cool. What a great reason to sign up. It's called again a creative release, moving emotions through paint. Well, it's clearly going to be such a powerful program for everybody who chooses to participate. And we've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128. So you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start August 11th and run Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, which also works well in Europe. But even if you can't make those live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. I also encourage you to read through some of the testimonials. I feel energized, refreshed, and truly nourished. Her enchanting process is a gift to any creative, a wisdom that is both enchantingly ancient and fiercely contemporary. So many great testimonials about Flora and her work from previous students. And so there's lots more on that at freedomwithintuitivepainting.com. So I encourage you to really give yourself the gift of taking the time today to tune in, read through the page, Freedom with Intuitive Painting. Just contemplate, tune in with your own inner knowing. If you choose to move forward today, you're going to get that extra bonus on creative release, moving emotions through paint. And I think you're just going to be in for a blessed and empowering and very fun experience to get to dive deep with Flora. So, Flora, it's been great to be with you. Anything that's still on your heart that you want to share with folks who are considering doing your course with you?
Well, I'm very excited about this. I'm really honored to be able to offer this to probably some folks who haven't worked with me in the past. And what I want to be really clear about is that you don't need any art experience. But if you have art experience, or if you're even a professional artist, you're going to get something from the course. I tend to have like a real mixed level in all my courses and retreats, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're just gonna get a different perspective. And if you are brand new to painting, you will feel very held and guided in everything from what materials to get to those first marks and all the way through. And I think the last thing I want to say, and this is just such a true belief that I have, is that I really feel that where we are in the world right now, that creativity is an absolute ally for us. Where it's like makes me emotional thinking about it, but we're in a great time of change, as we all know, and things are just like rapidly shifting day to day. And so what is required of us right now is creating a new world. I mean, to go full global, it's like we need to imagine and create a new way of doing this. And so where that comes from creativity. And so if you think like, oh, I'm just doodling in my journal, it's like actually it's more than that. It's connecting with your humanity. It's connecting with the part of you who has a voice, who has so much to move through you, out of you, into the world. And so I just more and more, I mean, I've always loved this process, but more and more I just feel like this is the time for creativity. This is the time for all of us to remember that we have that kind of agency. And this course, I hope, is just a beautiful like way to sort of seed even more creative practices in your life. So yeah, it's more
Well, I
than just
love
painting.
that. I completely align with you that we are designing a new world and we have to free up from the what we believe possible and to redesign things from a creative, expressive place. And what a beautiful way to do it. So thank you, Flora, for your vision and your embodied expression and this offering to do this work with you. So again, it's all at freedomwithintuitivepainting.com, and you'll get the special freeing up your emotions bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight. So looking
Mm,
to many beautiful things emerging from this program. So thank you, Flora, and thank you all for joining.
thank you. Thanks so much for having me.